Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Cloud and Clear, SADA's video and audio podcast talking about everything cloud related. I'm Michael Ames, Managing Director of Vertical Markets at SADA. When we do these podcasts, sometimes we're interviewing thought leaders from Google, sometimes we're putting our own thought leaders forward. The ones we love the most are when we are able to bring in our great customers and partners and let them do the talking about the work that they are doing and how it's impacting the world. I'm really excited today to introduce to you Aaron Soroka, Vice President of Operations at Vidyo. Aaron, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, Michael.
We're really excited to have you here, and your company does some remarkable work filling an important need in a lot of important industries. So I think we want to start out with that. Just tell us a little bit about Vidyo, your core products. Tell us what they do and who those primary customers are.
We have a long history within the video communication space. One of the leaders, or one of the first ones into the space, and have been here for well over a decade, nearing 2 decades. Predominantly, at this time, the vast majority of our work is within healthcare, banking, and government entities. We provide a very secure, very stable, and very adaptable system, and something that many of our clients have the opportunity to white label or customize to really meet the need of whatever their specific use case is.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because the fact is, I got to admit, I am a Google Meet fanboy. We operate on it all day long as Google Workspace users at SADA, working with Google and many of our Google-focused customers. That's where we are. And the rest of the world is on Teams or on Zoom. Somebody looking at video superficially would say video communications is a saturated market. You've been there for 10 years. Like, what is it that you're doing that is different from these products that are already out there so widely deployed? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at your phone, if you take your phone and you look at it, and you'll see exactly what you've just said. There are numerous apps out there that you can communicate point to point, one to one, a couple people at a time. You can turn on, different filters and have that basic communication. But where we have really focused and we've found our niche is working to create bespoke or really special solutions for a particular company. So if you are a banking entity and you have a unique problem that you're trying to solve, say for example, this is one of our existing clients. Say for example, you want to embed video technology in your ITMs or your ATMs around the world. You can take our APIs and you can embed them so that while somebody is going to a bank machine and needs help, they can ring somebody within that call. At the same time, you look at healthcare, and of course, everything that's happened over the last 3 or 4 years that we've all lived through has really changed the world of telehealth. And so while it used to be, and we hear this a lot from our clients, pre-COVID, a lot of people looked at telehealth, even within the hospital, as a bit of a novelty. And now that has totally changed. And as you can imagine, when you start thinking about regulations such as HIPAA compliance, GDPR, and all of the different regulations surrounding security, handling of PPI and different information, that has really changed the way that you approach healthcare and the way that you provide solutions. And so again, instead of if you're the doctor and I'm the patient, pre-COVID, that may be the typical use case. You're calling me, where you're giving me a quick consult. And again, it was a bit of a novelty. Now it's very, very different. So how can I triage a patient that comes into a hospital that has that needs to see a specialist across town at another hospital without transferring them to that hospital because of the expense, the resources required to move them by ambulance? So how can we integrate with hardware devices? How can we bring different physicians or specialists together? How can we bring in interpreters to assist with live interpretation services? How can we enable 24/7 virtual nursing or virtual rounding? Those are the kinds of solutions that we can solve and that we concentrate on solving that some of our other competitors aren't as focused on.
I think that's just such an important thing to understand is folks who are used to thinking of video communications like this in just the context of talking to your kid who's away at college, bringing in the grandparents to help sing happy birthday, or even day-to-day business meetings, right? These platforms have essentially replaced the conference room for
Hmm.
how we work together within and between companies. But those capabilities, as good as they are not sufficient for key use cases in industries. And I can tell you that I witnessed this, and it's the reason that what you're doing is so important. In the early days of the pandemic, I was closely involved with the work that SADA and Google were doing, like everybody, to try to say what can we do to help with this. We saw the demand for telehealth going through the roof, and for a while there was a push to say, well, maybe we can get Google Meet into the hands of doctors, and they could use that for their patient connections. And technically, you can have a great video conference with anybody over a platform like Google Meet. But here's the problem: when you're a doctor, you need to provide a really specific experience. It needs to work for
Hmm.
people who don't understand technology. In many cases, you've got to have lots of compliances that you're worried about. You want to be able to do things like put people in a waiting room and maybe give them the ability to ask and answer questions. You want that video experience to be under the branding of your hospital, of your clinic. And none of those things are possible with the sort of consumer or general business grade video conference systems. And that effort to create something that would succeed in healthcare at a time of great need basically failed. I hate to say it, right?
Hmm.
So I'll condition my prior statement, Google Meet fanboy, in the context of conversations like this. But as a healthcare IT guy, which is what my background is, it's tools like Vidyo that are actually helping to enable the transition to telehealth, which is providing so much benefit, right,
Yeah.
across the
Yep,
board.
absolutely, absolutely. And again, you gave a great use case. You know, another great one for our listeners and viewers. Think about when a loved one at the beginning of COVID had to go to the hospital. They were in the ICU. We didn't know how to protect ourselves. The nurses, didn't necessarily have the PPE, and so how can you use technology to keep people safe and keep people in touch? And so imagine if you had a video enabled hospital room. If all hospital rooms were video enabled, the nurse could speak to the patient remotely, thereby keeping themselves safe. And at the same time, you can use that same tool for the patient to be able to call out to their loved ones who weren't allowed to come into the room. Again, it's somewhat of a more basic use case of what compared to what we're capable of, but that gives you a really good idea of something that we all experienced or we all witnessed happening over the last 3 or 4 years.
Well, and I love that idea of embedding outside of healthcare, embedding a video communication experience there with an ATM, right?
Hmm.
I think of all of the ways that we used to be across a table or a countertop from a human being. But as we have introduced more and more automation, in a sense, more and more robots kind of taking those roles, on the one hand, it's been great for scalability and innovation and
Hmm.
speed and things like that, but it's been terrible for the personal touch. It breaks down the moment that you realize that you've forgotten your PIN, or that you aren't quite sure how to interact with this robot. The ability to embed a video communication experience with an actual human on the other end who can communicate with you, looking you in the eyes, that's amazing. And as a way to
Yep.
put back a little bit of the humanity into this kind of kiosk and robot enabled world that we built for ourselves.
Yep, absolutely. We have a very robust library of APIs, and some very interesting plans or ways in which you can embed it as an integrator or as a software developer. You can take our APIs, you can run with them, you can create whatever you want to create, whatever your solution is. We actually have a very interesting piece on our website where right now, Michael, you could go to our website, you could play around with the code live and adjust everything and white label it, and pretty neat. But again, the APIs for us, it's an exciting space to play because of all of the unique and creative developers that are out there around the world trying to create or embed their technology or video technology within their solutions.
Did you just say that I can go onto your website and actually like play with this?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, you shouldn't have said that. I'm like
Yeah, I will send
I,
you the
I'm
link.
I'm a hacker wearing a business suit in reality, and that's exciting. That's really cool and great that you sort of open that up
Yep,
because I think it is the APIs and the embeddability and those kinds of things that really differentiate. And so leading with that, making that available to engineers, developers on your website so that they can get their hands on it and see how this works and be like, oh, this is awesome. I see how I can
absolutely.
incorporate this into my application or my solution. That's a great move on your part.
So vidyo.com, go to the platform section. You can play with it live there. And if you want to get started, we have a program where we give you 5,000 minutes free, and you can start embedding and toying around. And we have resources available to help developers through the process.
That's great. That's great. And we'll put those in the notes wherever you are watching or listening to this. You'll be able to go there and see it. It is vidyo.com.
Yep.
So folks know. Let's move on a little bit because we're talking about capabilities of the outward facing portion of the application, but you're doing some really interesting things in the back end as well about giving customers more options for how they actually host the
Mm-hmm.
video infrastructure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this comes back to the ethos of not just Vidyo, but Enchos, our parent company. We believe in choice. And so as we think back 10, 15 years ago when video got its start, or video technology in general, everything was on premise. And so there is this huge shift to cloud, and that's been going on for a number of years and continues to accelerate. But we have a number of customers that aren't quite ready to go all the way to a public cloud, especially when you start talking about healthcare. Many of our clients, they move at a different speed, mostly because of their testing regimen and how they want to be sure that whatever they're deploying does not break anything or integrates well with all of their hardware and all of their software that they have with it running within the hospital. So we offer we offer two models that I want to speak about. One is a hybrid cloud, where you move to the cloud, but if there are some resources that you need to maintain on-prem, we can direct those resources down-prem. And more interesting, the private cloud. And so the private cloud option, which for us is quite exciting, and we get a fair number of new and existing clients interested in it, allows them to take that baby step to move to the cloud. They stay in control, or more control of when releases come out. They stay in control of more of the security. They're also able to work with us to define where data does go and does not go. Very important from the get-go. We do not store any data, especially when it comes to healthcare. We're very, very careful. We do not have data stored with regard to our healthcare clients. But for example, we have a current client that we're working with that is based in Israel, and they can't have data leave Israel. And so the solution is setting up a private cloud on Google within Israel for that specific client. And so now we've met their specific needs that in their feedback to us, many of our competitors aren't able to satisfy. And that's a testament of the breadth and width of the services of Google and GCP, and also our ability and our openness to creating that custom solution that meets the need of our customers.
Yeah, I mean, I love this so much. And I'm glad that you mentioned on GCP because there was a point in the conversation where I'm sure people were listening and thinking, wait a second, this is a cloud podcast. This is a Google Cloud oriented podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Aaron talking about building private clouds? What you've done is you have married kind of the best of all worlds, building private clouds for your customers that run on Google Cloud infrastructure. So you have the
Absolutely.
security and the scalability and the replicability and the reliability and all of those things that we want from a cloud hyperscaler, but you've created a controlled environment within that, right? That then the customer can have greater control over security, over updates, over releases. Because it is true that in general, cloud hyperscalers upgrade their products and release things. And sometimes you hear about them when you get the release notes. Not very often, but sometimes you find out about them when something that you built has broken and you've got to go make some changes. And you are able to protect your customers, which you've already agreed, like the two industries we've been talking about are healthcare and banking, highly sensitive. You're able to provide them some protections against those unexpected things, meet some of their specific needs via a private cloud, but with the robustness that you're getting from Google Cloud at the back end.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Why Google Cloud specifically?
Yeah, I think that we've been a partner of Google's for quite some time. I think that when we did our initial analysis, one of the advantages is Google owning their infrastructure, and that's not just data centers, but also the cables across the ocean. That provides advantages, especially when you're talking about something as real time as video and audio, in terms of dealing with latency and being sure that you've got these resources that your supplier is 100% in control of. They've been great partners of ours. They're very engaged in terms of working with us in terms of their technology, how they can help us develop our product, or how they can help accelerate the product. And that goes the same for SADA. We've been, as long as I've been here at Vidyo, we've been partnered with SADA, and they've taken the same approach, and it's a real partnership in trying to work with us and trying to help us grow, because as we grow, they grow as well. And I love the word partnership, and that's the way I would describe both our relationship with SADA and Google.
Well, I appreciate that. One of the things that I love about my job that's really interesting is in my team of vertical leaders, industry vertical leaders and specialists, we look across and between those verticals, and we look for areas of synergy, and we get insight not just into what each of our customers are doing, but we also get insight into how our customers are working together. So we won't name names, but we have Vidyo as a partner and a customer of ours, and then we also have as partners and customers of Vidyo, right? And so it creates these network effects that are exciting and provide opportunities for all of us to grow and succeed together. And it's absolutely true that as we work together, as we provide good service to our customers and you succeed, you grow, that benefits us. And so our incentives are all really nicely aligned, and we can go do great things together. So I'm glad that you're feeling that. It's one of the things that we like about Google. They think in those terms, and it's the way that SADA has tried to operate for a long time.
Yeah, excellent.
Appreciate that. I would love to hear kind of what's next, right? So we've talked about how your product is differentiated. We've talked about the private cloud offering, which is really exciting. What's on the horizon?
Yeah, for us, a lot of our emphasis of late is, again, working towards finding new solutions for different workflows within the healthcare space. Our engineers have been working for quite some time, and in the next week or so, we'll be releasing functionality related to breakout rooms. And while I know the breakout room function has existed for some time with some of our competitors, this has really been focused and based on two different spaces. First, healthcare, and then also we're putting a bit of an emphasis on the judicial space and virtual courts, where we help a number of customers around the world. And so closed captioning, which we just released, which is actually powered by Google, that took some time, specifically because, again, we work in healthcare, and so the terminology, fine-tuning it to ensure that when you're referencing, say, a medical device or a medical procedure, the closed captioning is accurate. And so closed captioning came out, breakout rooms, admittance-based waiting rooms, a number of different workflows that are really going to help our healthcare clients, and both our existing ones and future ones. We continue to focus on our APIs and trying to grow that space. We see it as an opportunity for us moving forward. And those are really sort of the big things in the next 30, 60, let's say, rather than 30, 69 days, let's say 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, that's great. And what an incredible roadmap. Having been a juror,
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you how much I would rather have been able to do this in a remote way.
Exactly.
Or even things like in the courthouse, when as a juror we had questions and we had to reach people to ask those questions, but we couldn't, and we had to wait until the next day because somebody had left the building for the day or things like that. And so creating abilities to help streamline that process, I would have loved to have been there after you guys accomplished this. I can see the value.
Absolutely. Streamline is a great word, and that is a great theme in all of the verticals that we're working. You hear if you're tapped in, and I know you are, but if you're tapped in, if the listeners are tapped into the healthcare space, you hear a lot about the nursing shortage, and you hear about the financial impact to healthcare systems that COVID played. And so a lot of where our partners are looking is they're looking to streamline workflows. They're looking to find efficiencies. How can we work with less and accomplish more? And so that, again, waiting rooms, different workflows, our new virtual sitter product, which has been on the market for about 6 months, which enables virtual rounding and virtual nursing. It's all about efficiencies and how can we drive efficiencies so that hospitals can overcome some of the challenges they're facing coming out of the COVID pandemic.
Well, and the great thing about working in the healthcare industry is that any dollar that a hospital system saves on efficiency tends to get reinvested back into processes and things that ultimately improve patient care. And that's the goal, right? So it would be easy to get thinking, well, we're a technology company, we're providing a video conferencing solution, but through enabling telehealth, through enabling more efficient processes for clinicians there in the hospital, you are actually creating value for that business in a way that's going to have an impact on the health of the people that they're serving, right? And that's what makes doing this work, even from the technology side, so ultimately satisfying. So we thank you for being a part of that, for bringing your innovation mindset to this, for doing all of the work that you're doing to make healthcare a better place, as well as in the other industries that you're serving. And I think with that, I think we'll wrap this up. What a great discussion. Any final comments or questions? Tell you what, let me ask you this, and I won't have prepared you for this. So you got to think on your feet. You have a magic wand, and with the magic wand, you can make any change in the public cloud space to make the work that you're doing better and easier. It could be a new product, it could be a new capability, it could be anything. If you could wave that wand and wish for one thing, what would that be?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. I think for us, I think that AI and the integration of AI into our solutions, and I think everybody in the tech space, we're all trying to figure out how AI can change things and evolve things. And so for us, when I think of video and what can change or what we can figure out in the near term to really accelerate our business, is understanding how we can use AI to help solve solutions. And so I think that is probably the biggest opportunity for us.
That's great. So folks from Google and SADA who are listening to this, that's the problem that we need to go out and figure out how to make that easier and better for folks like Vidyo to help them figure out to deliver what's next. Great. Thanks again, Aaron. We appreciate your time today and we appreciate the good work that your company is doing. We'll wrap that up. Thanks, everybody, for listening or watching, and we look forward to talking to you again on another edition of Cloud and Clear.
Thank you for listening to Cloud and Clear. Check the show notes for links to this week's topics, and don't forget to connect with us on Twitter @Cloud and Clear and our website, sada.com. Be sure to rate and review the show on your favorite podcast app.